Welcome to one of the many circle sessions hosted by Wonder Girls. Wonder Girls is a nationwide classrooms movement. We bring relatable female role models into classroom settings through our circle sessions. As you will see, the crux of these sessions is its dialogic nature. We're currently working with 150 plus classrooms across 7 Indian cities. Our aim is for every adolescent in India to have access to relatable female role models. I welcome you once again and hope you enjoy learning from our speakers' life journey and career path.
Good afternoon, Didi.
Good afternoon. How's
Hi, Didi.
Hi.
All right, it's already 4, so we will quickly just begin the session. Others will keep on joining. Keep on writing your questions in the chat box. Meanwhile, we will begin with a short introduction. So hello Sanjana. So we are, so this is a TFI classroom. I and Anisha, we both teach in TFI classrooms in Delhi Government School. Um, uh, these are 8th grade girls, and I teach them English and SST, and Anisha teaches them science and maths. So these are girls from 2 different schools who have got combined for today's session. So we really wanted someone like a lawyer, so as a role model and inspiration for these girls, because most of them really want to go into law as a future option and career. So it will be great if you can begin by giving your short introduction, and then we will directly jump into questions from kids.
Sure. Firstly, hi everyone. I think my name is visible. I'm based out of Bombay. I've done my education till the 12th grade in Bombay, after which I did my law school from Symbiosis Law School in Pune. And after that, I came back to Bombay, and ever since then, it's been 4 years that I've been working in Bombay itself. This is my legal background. Prior to law school, I was involved in a lot of dance. I mean, I am a classical dancer. And ever since law school, I think I've lost all touch from that because life has just been so demanding. But currently, I mean, in my free time, we travel. I mean, we are a family of 3, so mostly we do everything together. That's my free time now. I think a very general question and a very normal one is why law? Why did I choose law? And to be honest, I don't have a very concrete answer. Um, a lot of people I know who choose to do law is because they come from a family of lawyers. So they want to continue that tradition, or they have a family business that they need to continue. For me, that wasn't the case. I think there are just 2 other people in my family who practice law. But it was just something. I think I was in the 8th grade, like all of you, and this is something I saw on TV, and it's something that excited me in 8th grade, that I want to do law. And my parents never said anything. They were like, yeah, sure. They thought it was just a whimsical wish of mine in 8th grade that I want to do law because I saw it on TV. So then when I came to 11th and 12th grade, I was studying psychology. And I think in my 5 years since 8th to 12th grade, I I only once thought that of not doing law because I was very sure I did not want to do science. I was so sure I didn't want to get into like medicine, engineering. So I think through elimination, I came to law. And then I just stuck to that. And like I said, my parents never stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. They were very supportive of it. And so after 12th grade, I prepped for law school, and that's how I'm in law today. So that's my journey.
Thank you so much for that. So what we understand from your conversation is that so when you were like the age of these girls, at that time you knew you want to be a lawyer, and I think most of these girls also are thinking the same right now. They also want to be a lawyer, and I hope they continue thinking in that way. On that note, moving on to questions. Everyone, please raise your hand. Whoever wants to ask any question from Sanjana Didi. I can see Manini has raised her hand. Yes, Manini. Okay, hello, Didi.
Hi.
Okay, so I've prepared myself very well. So, क्योंकि मुझे पता था that you are coming and you are a lawyer, so I I aspire right now. My aspiration is to become a lawyer. So I have a list of questions. So
Sure.
I'll
Hi.
just ask you them. Number one is that uh, you know um, for doing law, first of all, you have to clear CLAT, right?
Hmm.
Yes, and then it's like to get into good colleges like national law universities, NLUs, that is in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Gandhinagar, all of them. So, is it like, do you need to do you need to give any other entrance examination to get into those good colleges, not in private colleges, but in those good colleges?
Okay. I'm glad you did your research. I wasn't so prepared in eighth grade for sure. Um, so, like you mentioned, there is a common law admissions test, which is for the national law schools in India. I think there are they've increased since the time I gave my exam. So, I checked up right before this session, that there are 22 national law schools in India. Let me be very honest, all 22 are not worth getting into. They all have a rank, and I think the top 10 are the better ones to get into. And like you mentioned, there is an entrance exam for those tests. There are, I think now, of course, the seats would have increased. I think there would be about 1,000 seats or 1,200 seats. I'm not sure because they've increased since my time. And there is an entrance. The entrance exam has, I think, 100 times people who are giving the exam than the number of seats that are available. And there are, of course, reservations. So depending on which category you fall into, there are those many number of seats that are available. So those are for the national law school colleges. A lot of private institutes, like you mentioned, have their own entrance exams. So because I went into Symbiosis has its own entrance exam, its own interview, and its own, they have a group discussion round. Similarly, Christ College has its own entrance exam. So it depends on which institute you want to get into. Amity, I am not sure if they have an entrance exam. I know a lot of them have a cutoff on your 12th grades, 12th standard percentages. So I think it depends on what course you want to get into. If you guys do your research a little beforehand as to what colleges you want to get into, and then start tracking their admissions procedure, which is if they have an entrance exam, by what date you need to apply to for that. Because what happened with me also is, while I was sure I wanted to do law, my parents still wanted me to have backup, which is if I do not get into any of the courses that I want in the colleges that I want, then I should have a backup. So um, I think another question would be as to what are the courses available in law. So let me just address that now itself. If you want to get into law right after your 12th grade, there is a 5-year course. That is your undergraduate program, right? And that is an integrated course. So you can do your BBA, which is your Bachelor's of Business, along with your law, or you can do BCom, LLB. So LLB is the law degree. Along with that, there is now there's a lot more in the market. There is BA, there's BBA, there is Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Commerce. So these are integrated programs that you have with law. That is if you want to do it right after 12th. But after 12th, if you're not sure if you want to do and you still want more time to figure it out, then you can do your 3 years undergrad degree, which is BA, BCom, whatever you choose to do. After that, there is another 3-year law course. So then instead of a 5-year integrated program, you take 6 years to complete your course. So it's up to you what you want to do, because you guys have a lot of time to figure out what you want to do, how do you want to go about it, and even figure out if this is actually what you want to do, like if law is it, you know, because studying for 5 years or 6 years is a lot. So, and one thing I would say definitely is that do not think that you have to be absolutely sure what you want to do. I have friends, I have colleagues who after studying for 5 years decided that law is not for them, and then they've gone into another course, which is completely fine. because 5 years is a lot of commitment to something. And if not five, then you're going for a 6-year program. So that is one thing. So again, yeah, like I mentioned, depending upon the course, there are different entrance exams. So what my parents insisted was that while they had no issues with me getting into law, they wanted me to have backup, like I mentioned. So if not the 5-year law course, I applied to colleges for the 3-year BBA course or the 3-year BA course, just so that I would have those 3 years and then apply for law after those 3 years. A lot of people, what they do is if they don't get a good college in CLAT in their first year, they prepare for it for another year and then give CLAT the next year. Or they join a government or a private law college for the first year, and then they still prepare for CLAT simultaneously. So 1 year later, they can give CLAT and then move into a national law school. Now, CLAT, like I mentioned, once your results come, there are rankings. Each uh, each student gets a ranking, and then depending upon those rankings, you're allocated different national law schools depending on their ranking and how many seats they have available. So that is how CLAT works. There is another entrance exam which is known as LSAT. Um, that's the law school admission test. That is for a different set of colleges. The biggest one in that lot is Jindal Global Law School, which is in Haryana. And there are a bunch of other colleges that take admission basis your rank in the LSAT. So yeah, like I was coming back, when you're nearing your 12th grade, you can start shortlisting these colleges. You can start tracking their admissions process, because as far as even I know, a lot has changed for Symbiosis since the time I gave my entrance. Now the process has changed. So, and Symbiosis has a common entrance exam for all their courses, because Symbiosis also offers multiple courses. So they have a common exam. And then you get shortlisted basis your cutoff and all of that for different aspects of the interview process. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question, Manini.
Yes, Didi, that has answered a lot of my questions. So, okay, my next question is, what is the benefit of doing, there are a lot of law colleges, right? And you cannot be very sure that after doing, um, after completing your graduation, after doing law from the top colleges, so you cannot be sure that you will be jitna aapne expect kiya hai, you will be getting that position or that rank or anything like that. So but still, why do we emphasize so much on the top colleges? What is the benefit of those colleges?
So I think one benefit, the main benefit would be 5 years later when you're trying to get a job. That time, unfortunately, your law school matters. There are a lot of law firms in India which unfortunately go for only national law school students, or they will only go for certain law colleges. And if they've not heard of your law college, then that's another ball game altogether. But that is your biggest advantage, which is placements. Because these larger law colleges, they also have a full-fledged placement program that happens. So in your final year, at least majority of those students will get a job somewhere, and that is assured from the college. So that is your advantage of the top few law colleges. Of course, faculty is great. uh, I'm not saying the faculty in the lower end colleges are not good, because I am personally not aware of it, but the exposure that you get is greater. So like for instance, at my college, when we had guest lecturers and all, it is all these big people who come down, like you will have Supreme Court judges. We had I'm blanking out on the name right now, but we had, they have a greater ability to get good speakers to come and give guest lectures at your college, and you will have greater exposure to them. Then there are multiple things. There are exchange programs that happen, like for instance, Symbiosis has an exchange program in the Europe, so you can go there. And I think that would be it. Mm, so I'll tell you something that benefits Bombay law colleges. Law colleges in Bombay, they're government law colleges. They're not very strict on attendance. So, during the course of the year, those students are always interning. So they're getting a lot of practical exposure as compared to, say, a national law school or a private law school where attendance is a big issue and they are mandatory, have like 75% attendance. So for these law school students in Bombay, they're interning throughout the year. So they get more practical exposure, which is very important in a field like law. Theory will only help you so far. Once you get into practice, it is your practical exposure is what matters. And because of this no attendance thing, they intern so much, they have a better chance of getting a job with those law firms, you know. So that is one thing that really matters. Placement wise, I don't know how law colleges in Delhi are, to be very honest, but because I'm in Bombay and honestly it was a disadvantage for me, because if I was interning at a place where with me there were interns from Bombay law colleges, I would have to go back to college in a month, but they could continue for like 3 months. And then obviously law firms prefer that over a 1 month intern, right? Because they get to train them more. So that is one thing. Um, if I have to think, current nothing else is coming to mind, Manini. So that's all that I have for that question.
Okay, so not taking much of your time. I just have two more questions.
Manini, let's just give chance to others and you can join in baad mein. Okay?
All right, sure.
Okay. I will give you full time. Don't worry. Thank you so much, Sanjana, for that. So I was also thinking when with your discussion with Manini that it was a lot of information after 12th. And since our girls are in 8th, and the immediate thing which is coming in next 2 years is choosing their stream. So what would you suggest, like if they want to pursue a career in law, what stream is like going to be best for them, or is it like any stream can do?
So one thing, so I think the main decision at 11th. So I think the main decision right now would be if they want to, like I said, it's an integrated program, right? So if they want to do bachelor's of arts or bachelor's of business administration, that is where your distinction lies as to what you want in 11th and 12th. If you want to do bachelor's of business administration, in 11th and 12th, you have to have maths and economics. So I took humanities in 11th and 12th because, like I said, I knew I didn't want to do science, but I had kept maths and economics as my options. Because I had that, I could take bachelor's of business administration in law school. So for BBA, you have to have maths and eco. If you want to do bachelor of arts, you can pick any stream right now. It does not make a difference. And of course, if you want to do BCom later, I'm not sure what the eligibility for BCom and BS Bachelor's of Science is, but I'm assuming it would be that you have to take science in 11th and 12th or commerce, depending on what you want to do. So yeah, but I personally took humanities with maths and eco.
Okay, so a lot depends on what do you want to do in your bachelor's.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for that. Sejal, please ask your question.
Yes, just a minute.
Sure. Can we take question from Lakshmi till the time?
Okay, so my question to you is that like who all supported you when you want to become a lawyer?
Sorry, she got cut off in the middle. I didn't hear the full question. Can you repeat that?
Then now am I audible?
Yes.
Then my question is that who all supported you when you decided that you want to be a lawyer?
Honestly, I would have to just say my parents because, like I said, I don't come from a family of lawyers. So there was nobody I could reach out to or nobody that could help me with the process. It was just my parents because they never stopped me from wanting to do what I wanted to do. That it was just them, and they left everything to me, which college I want to apply, where I want to go to study. I was very sure I did not want to study in Bombay because I wanted that experience of living away from home. And Pune was sort of perfect for me because it's, a car ride away from Bombay. I had relatives there. So yeah, my answer is just my parents.
Okay. Big support from parents. Lakshmi, you can ask your question. Lakshmi, can you hear me? No, you are singing, Lakshmi.
Student till then.
Okay, Lakshmi, that's okay. You can write your question on the chat box. I will read it out. Okay. In the meanwhile, Shruti, please ask your question.
Good afternoon, Didi. So my question from you is, on the way of being a lawyer, did you face any difficulties with which makes you stressed? Would you like to tell me?
You mean before I became a lawyer or after I became a lawyer?
No, the on the way of being a
Okay.
lawyer.
Okay, so before I graduated, basically. Um, Difficulties, I think, obviously during the admission stage, it's very stressful as to where you will get admission, how have you fared? Because, okay, so the CLAT classes, like I mentioned, there are coaching classes, like for every entrance exam, there are coaching classes for CLAT. Now, as far as I remember, you can either start coaching from your 11th grade, which is a 2-year coaching, or you can do a 1-year coaching, or like I did, there is a 1-month coaching. So after your 12th standard, after your 12th boards, there is a 1-month intense coaching that they do before your CLAT exams. So because I did only that 1 month, um, it was a lot to take in altogether. Because so the CLAT exam has various sections. There is English language, there is logical reasoning, there is legal reasoning, there is current affairs, general knowledge. And what I read a while ago, which was not there for me, is quantitative reasoning. Um, you don't need to know law before giving these exams, but you need to have your interpretation skills, like how if they pose a question to you, you need to deduce the answer. They'll give, it's a multiple choice question, you don't have to write anything, it's not subjective, it's all MCQs, but you need to be able to deduce what they're asking from the question itself and then answer. So for me, the biggest challenge at that time was my current affairs knowledge was zero. Okay, like absolutely zero. It's very shameful that I'm saying this now, but at that time it was bad. So at that time, I just had to cram everything within that 1 month. I was reading newspapers, I was reading old newspapers. There are books that come out, general knowledge, year on year. Those books have like, you just have to read through it. There are CLAT past year question papers and books that help you in that. If you want, that is something you can do. So for me, that admission stage was very stressful. Um, and unfortunately, I did not score very well in my 12th boards. So then, and marks, while they don't matter a lot, but for the cutoffs in some colleges, it does matter. Like some of the colleges have very high cutoffs. If they don't have an entrance exam, it's cutoff based. And then if you miss that, then you have to wait for the first list to come out or the second list to come out to see if you've made it through. So it's just that those few months of not knowing or not being certain of where your future is headed, that is a little stressful. Then once you join law school, um, it is very academics oriented. Like 5 years of studying can get quite a bit. And because you choose this integrated program of BBA and LLB, there are your law courses and your BBA courses are start off from the first day itself. So BBA you finish in 3 years. So after your third year, you have no business courses. Then for 2 years, it's just law. So of course, there are some subjects which I personally I did not like them. So just studying those were a task for me. And I'm sure all of you have some subject that you detest and absolutely do not like. So, just getting yourself to get through that exam itself is a task sometimes. And then, like I said, practical experience matters a lot. So during those 5 years, every vacation I was interning, because that's how you learn on the job. That's how you figure out what you want to do after you graduate. Because theory will only help you so far. Practical experience, like, and there are various fields of law, like now it's just a sea of fields. Like, people have laws governing the randomest things now, and they want to regulate more areas. So there are a lot of up and coming laws now which you won't even study of in law school, and you won't even know till you graduate or till you go and work somewhere, that okay, this is something that exists out there. This is something that may interest me. So to figure out what it is that may interest you, or what it is that's interesting to you, you need to have your internships. Intern at various places, law firms, companies, NGOs, to figure out what it is that you want to do. And in law, internship matters a lot, because you can, like I already harped upon quite a bit. uh Sorry, sorry, there's an insect here. Okay. uh yeah, so during your internships you'll figure what field of law you want to get into, or what field of law you absolutely do not want to get into. That is one thing. And I forgot what I was saying because of this insect. And through these internships, you can guarantee yourself a job. If they like you can go back intern there. If they like you, they will ask you to apply for a job. Or if you like a particular team, you can ask them, can I join you? So, yeah, so getting those internships is also quite difficult, because there are various law firms, but there are various law students also, like almost thrice the amount of seats that are available. So you're competing at every stage to like get a seat somewhere. So yes, getting those internships was a little hard. And just I know this is very soon, you're only in 8th grade, and I'm talking like 6 years down the line, 7 years down the line. uh, but yeah, these are the difficulties that I faced then. Just deciding what field of law I want to get into, or internships. And yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I got my answer. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
so yeah, like also what I understood from whatever the conversation was, that making choices at some point is very difficult. And be it admission, or choosing your area of specialization, or choosing your internship in exposure, I think these are important decisions which decide a lot about your future in law. So I think you don't have to worry about that right now, girls, but just keep in mind that you have to study hard in 12th. Okay, that's needed. Um, Rubina, please ask your question. Rubina, can you hear me?
Hello, Di, can you hear me?
Yes.
Di, I have a question. Di, which type of lawyer?
Oh, I'm a corporate lawyer. So I work at a law firm. I do not go to court. I basically help companies with their day-to-day queries, or if they want to restructure their organization, or merge with another organization. So I help them from that aspect. So I think I can get into the types of law. This would be a good opening now. So broadly, there is litigation and corporate law. Broadly, under that, there are various other aspects. Litigation is, what you see on TV, people going to court, what you see in TV and movies, people fighting cases in court. And then corporate law is like a desk job. So, I do not go to court as such. They send me an email, I assist them on email, and I help them with their transactions and their day-to-day compliances and, corporate advisory, basically. Any issue they're facing, we help them with that. So in simple terms, this is what I do. There is those were the broad aspects, that under litigation there is criminal and civil. Now, criminal is what you would see again on TV and movies, when there is a robbery, or there is a charge for um, murder or robbery, or like theft or something. That is all criminal. Civil is when two companies have a case against each other, or I have a case against a company, then that is civil law. And this is just very basic terms. There are obviously lot more things to these two, but I'm just breaking it down simply for you guys. And then there's corporate law. Now there are various things, right? Like the data protection is a upcoming thing now. There are laws that govern banks, land, and property. So that's real estate law. Then there is law. Now there may be law for like your platforms like Netflix, Amazon, and all of that. So there are laws governing those. Basically, everything that you see in your day-to-day life, there is some law governing the functioning of that. You may not even realize it, but there are laws governing the randomest of things. A courier service, a delivery service, just getting money into your company, paying your employees, hiring employees. For everything, there is some law that's there in place. So, yeah.
I think that was a much needed distinguishing kids were really confused about. So I think everyone is clear now what is a corporate lawyer and what is litigation. All right, you all can do more research on this on your own, because I know this is also the way in which you learn more. Moving on to next, Lakshmi's question. She was asking that did you ever feel someone was trying to push you down because of your gender or any kind of gender discrimination in this field of law, like being a lawyer? Is there anything which you went through?
So personally, I have not faced any issues as such. There was, of course, there are more men than women in law. That is a given. Even in companies and all, when you're dealing with your clients, there are more men that you're dealing with than women. Now, what has happened to me was, we were on a call with it was a call. I was the only female on that call. There were like 10 other men, and they were just arguing, and I couldn't even say anything because they were so loud and just shouting at each other that nobody was giving me an opening, to say something. Things like that happen. There are some clients who will always prefer having a male advising them than a female advising them, or they will not take me seriously till the same thing comes from another man. Things like that happen. Funnily enough, the law firm where I work, we are 70% women and 30% men. So this is one of the very rare situations that you will have majority women than men at a workplace. So I haven't really faced it, but one issue I do know and that I've read about, which women face in law firms, because the job is very taxing, right? Like the life of a lawyer. I know this has a chance of putting you off, but trust me, it's very rewarding. But there are a lot of hours that go in being a lawyer. Like your work timings are never fixed. It's not a 9 to 5 job. You're working any time of the day, and that's a good feeling. Like and which is very important. When you know you want to do law, you know that this is also a part and parcel of your life, you know, and everyone around you also needs to know that. Like my parents know that, okay, my daughter is like this, can't help it. My friends know that, you know, she's working, cannot be disturbed. So it's very important for people around you also to know and understand your lifestyle. But yeah, one issue that I have seen is when being a woman, it sort of slows down your career growth when, say, you go on maternity leave. You know, you're on a break for like 6 to 7 months, so you're not working for those 6 to 7 months. For marriages, I have seen when a woman is getting married, she takes like 1 month off, you know, or 2 months off, because we need to plan our wedding. We need to get married in a way that we want to get married. But a man, he will probably take like 2 weeks off, you know. So, and paternity leave, it's very subjective. 1 week people take paternity leave, or people can take a month depending on the organization you're working in. But maternity leave, you need it, right? I mean, 6 months, while law mandates 26 weeks, which is 6 months, some companies are okay giving 1 year. It's very subjective from company to company and depending how understanding your boss is. But then that 1 year you're out of work, and then when you come back, you can't get back into full-fledged like 12-hour work days. So that I have seen, it sort of slows down the career growth curve. But but otherwise not so much in law, at least not in corporate law. In When you're in litigation, I think there is much more gender disparity than in corporate law, because then, you know, you're in court, and I know for a fact that there are some judges who just don't take women lawyers seriously, you know. And that's sadly that is the case. There are clients who do not want women representing them in court, you know, because they think that they're not competent enough, or they don't have the skills, requisite skills. So unfortunately that is there, but personally I have not faced it as such.
So
Thanks, Didi. I've got my answer.
Thank you.
so there might be a lot of discrimination leading to career growth, or taking women seriously in this job, because it is not seen as a woman's job, because men have been like majorly dominating it. But as Sanjana Didi mentioned, there's a major difference when you talk about corporate laws, lawyers, and litigation.
So
Thank you. Yeah.
there's actually something that I read very recently, that the number of women lawyers have now increased and are almost at par with the number of men lawyers, which is a very good thing, because law as a profession a few years ago was a male dominated profession. You know, men got into it as such because continue the family name or something. Nowadays there are a lot more women. Like even when I was in law school, there were more women than men in my class, in my batch, you know. So this is something that I was reading, that the statistics are increasing now. Women are it's no longer considered a male dominated profession today. Obviously it'll take a while to increase, but at least we know we're on the right path.
Yeah, I mean, this session also inspires more of women lawyer out of this place. Moving on, Subhashini, please ask your question.
I want to ask that do you have any particular hobbies or something which you used to do while you are free?
Yes. So ever since the lockdown, so it's going to be a year that I've been working from home now, and because I have more time, I have started attending virtual dance classes, and you know, trying to find my way back to dance. That is one thing. Hobby, I read. I try to read, but I think my biggest thing right now is I just binge watch anything and everything that's on these platforms. And I don't know if that's a hobby or what you call it, but that's my life right now.
I think that is most of us guilty pleasure right now.
I know, yeah.
Okay, Prachi, ask your question.
यस दीदी. सो दीदी जब हम मूवीज देखते हैं तो उसमें बहुत से लॉयर पैसे लेके अपने क्लाइंट को बचा लेते हैं. सो दीदी रियल लाइफ में भी ऐसे होता है?
Okay, I'll try to answer in Hindi. Yeah? My Hindi is apparently very bad, but oh god, I can't even start to say.
It's all right. You can speak in English only.
Uh, I have not seen that happen, but I know it happens. Because, like I said, I have a desk job, right? I do not go to court. I don't see that side of things, but I have heard that it happens. Although it's against the Advocates Act and everything that's in it. But yeah, people do it.
Okay. I think a lot of questions are coming from whatever the representation of lawyer has been on the TV.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to Manini. Yes, Manini, ask your questions.
Yeah, I just have one question now, so I'll not take a lot of your time. So my question is that what are the advantages and disadvantages of being a lawyer, except for the gender disparity or the gender discrimination that we see? Except for them, what are the other disadvantages?
Mm, okay, so I think a work-life balance is a little difficult to maintain as a lawyer. It obviously depends on the organization you are in, and their timings and how flexible they are. But mostly, you just see, we don't have fixed work hours, work days. There are weekends where we are working. In fact, I will be working right after this. But so I could be working from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. I could be working some days I would have no work, or I'm free by 5 and I can do what I want. So it's that is one. And again, this is the life that I have signed up for. Like, I knew this before getting into law, or before getting a job, that okay, this is how my life is going to be, so I'm okay with that, you know and I like it. It's very rewarding at the end of the day when you've helped someone, and sometimes it feels like, oh my god, like they're basing so much of their future basis the advice I am giving them. There's a lot of reliance on what I am saying. So it's very rewarding at the end of the day when your client is like, when your client sends you a thank you email, or like they congratulate you from someone, when you get a good job from your boss. Things like that are is what makes me okay going through days of like 12-hour work days, 14-hour work days, because at the end you get that. It's rewarding, it feels good, it's confidence boosting. I think that is the biggest drawback of being a lawyer. You're just not having enough of a work life balance, or you find yourself that work life balance. Some organizations are very okay if you tell them upfront that I cannot work beyond this time, or I'm not available on weekends. Like, that's not in my contract, and I don't have to be available on weekends. So it's your choice at the end of the day. Like, I know my organization is very flexible. If I tell them that I am out of town, or if I tell them that this 1 hour I'm not available, they will respect that. uh, that is one challenge. I think for me personally, another challenge is that I'm not very comfortable with gray areas, where there's no yes, right or wrong answer, where there is nothing written that, okay, yes, this is how it has to happen, this is how it cannot happen. And then I have to find a middle path, ki this is what the law says, but we're not clear of the interpretation. So this is my opinion. So I'm a little anxious when it comes to that. But I mean, that's again personal to me. um, each of you may face different issues, so yeah. I see you've asked what are the qualities that you need to have to become a lawyer. um, okay, so you I think the biggest thing that we require is having interpretation skills, because law is all about interpreting the written law, right? There are, like I mentioned earlier, there are acts, rules governing every aspect of life that we see day to day, right? So just being able to interpret that law, interpret it in the right manner. Actually, I would say that is one skill that you need. You need to be comfortable with reading, because as a profession there is a lot of reading involved in law. There is no one point where you can say I know everything, because it's an evolving profession. Every day laws are getting amended basis basis the change in society today, right? Like a few years ago there was no Netflix, there was no Amazon Prime, there was no need to regulate such entities, there was no need to have a law around this. But today they're discussing it. So if a law does come out in a few days, then you have to read that, you have to be aware of that. So as a profession, even if you're in the profession for 30 years, 40 years, you cannot say you know everything, because it's changing on a daily basis. It's a very dynamic field. So you need to be comfortable reading, um, reading acts, reading judgments, reading just material online. That is one thing. Um, you need to have good negotiation skills, because you will be negotiating for your client against other parties, right? So you need to have negotiating skills, you need to have confidence in what you're saying, because your client is relying on you. Whatever you tell them is right or wrong, they will base their decision on that, you know. So you need to be confident in delivering that to them, because the minute you're unsure, ki, I think this is the way to go, or I think this is what you should do, then they get anxious, and then they're not paying you for that, right? So you need to have confidence in what you're saying, you need to have negotiation skills, interpretation skills. And I feel, what for me personally, what also works is you just have to be inquisitive, ki, okay, this is happening, why is this happening, what more can happen, if it happens in a particular manner, then what can the outcome be? But if it happens in another manner, then what is the alternative outcome that can come, you know so just being inquisitive in general, key. And that again leads you to reading. Like you have to. And um I did not know this till I started working, ki how much of research will be involved as in this, what this is something that you learn on the job, to be very honest, because they don't teach you this in classrooms. They will teach you, will learn this while you're interning, you will learn this while you're working. So yeah, I think those would be the skills. Obviously I've not covered everything, but this is what I think uh, is important.
I think Anisha has already written also on the chat box. So it's interpretation skills. You have to be comfortable with reading. So girls, you have to read, um, which also includes researching a lot. It's a evolving process. The field is very dynamic, so you have to be very comfortable in adjusting to that. Negotiation skills and confidence. If you have all those skills, you're good to go be a lawyer. So yeah.
Even if you don't, it's something you learn on the job. It happens. I had zero negotiation skills when I joined. It's something that, I learned from my seniors, because when you join, it's not that you're directly thrown to the clients, that you deal with them. You learn from your seniors, then you become a senior, then you're training your juniors. So these are things that I have learned by observing, you know like, okay, this is how he dealt with the situation, so this is how I will deal with the situation. So yeah, like I said, you don't have to have everything today or even after 12th grade. It's something you can learn through the process, and you don't even have to know which field of law you want to do. Till I didn't know it till like my 4th year of law school, that this is exactly what I want to do. And again, it was through process of elimination. I knew I did not want to get into litigation, so I was like, that is out. And within corporate law, like I mentioned, there are so many things now. There is insurance, data protection, startups, or so many new things that it's like the world is your oyster. Just take a pick of what you want, and you will get that on the job. Like so a lot of law firms, what they do is when you just join, they give you exposure to everything under the sun. So, you will get experience in everything, and then you get a year more to decide what you actually want to do. So,
So talking about the law school, I think one important question which I personally want to ask is, um, what kind of financial assistance do you need in order to pursue your career in law, especially going to law schools and getting admission there? So how much financial stability do you need for that?
mm, honestly, I am not the best person to answer this question because fee structure of different law schools is something I'm not aware of. I know government law schools are obviously relatively easier on like finances, but and private law schools are a lot more. So I think, and what I do think is that most of these colleges would have their fee structure on their websites. So that is something that can maybe be checked into, because I know from the time I was in Symbiosis, the fees is almost doubled now. So I really wouldn't be the best person to. I don't have the answer to this question, but as far as I would think, they do have it available on their websites, or you can go to their admissions office and find out how much, what is their fees structure like, and then get an idea. But sorry, I don't have a concrete answer to that question.
It's all right. It's already 4:50. I don't think we'll be taking any more questions. Just a last piece of advice which I want you to give these girls. It can be regarding anything if they want to pursue a career or they see themselves as lawyers someday. So, what is that one piece of advice you would like to give them today?
Mm, I would just say, let me think this through. One piece of advice. Um, I think just know what you're getting into, you know, like just know what exactly is a role of a lawyer. I'm not saying know what type of law you want to get into, but just know the, like, weigh the pros and cons, because I have had people join the law firm who then realize that this is not what they want to do, and that is completely fine, right? No one's in a hurry. We will only be like 20, 23, 22 when you guys graduate. There's a long life ahead. So even if you decide that this is not something you want to do, there is always time to change that. So just don't put too much pressure on yourself, even for the admissions process and all. If you're just well prepared beforehand with your entire timelines, okay, I have to apply to this college by this date, exams are on this date. If you just know that, it's less pressure on you at that point, because I did not have that. I was running across Bombay law school, Bombay colleges, because I didn't realize that the cutoff dates had gone, so I had to look for colleges that were still taking applications. So I had to just run from college to college, figure that out, because their websites did not have it at that point, or it was me literally begging them ki just give me an application form, I know the date has gone by, but just give it to me, sort of a thing, because I did not do my research. So I would say do your research before getting into law school. And there are costs involved, of course. If you're going outside your city, then there are accommodation costs involved, food, and all of that. So just know that aspect as well. Now a lot of colleges have hostels attached to their campus, so it's easier now, of course. And yeah, just don't put too much pressure on yourself, guys. Like, okay, this is what I have to do, or this is how I have to do it. It'll all happen. And I know this may be very contrary to what other people say, but I do not think I prefer thinking in the present than thinking like 5 years down the line, what do I want, which does not work for me always, but that's how I prefer. So there's a very common interview question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I have never had an answer to that. Like, absolutely not. Now, also, when I've finished 4 years into the profession, if someone asks me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I will just not know. because it also depends on where your life takes you, right? Like, uh, what do you want if you're still up for that, you know, 12-hour work day 5 years down the line or not? Because so one thing I would say, I have only spoken about law firms because that's where I work. There are also in-house roles, which is basically when you are a lawyer for a company. So instead of a law firm hiring you, it's a company that's hiring you and you're working for their legal team. So that is also a very good opportunity. I did not discuss it much because I am not much aware of it. I have done a few internships, but again, not. There the life is a little easier because they do sometimes have a 9 to 5 job, or you know, depending upon your office timings. There is a third aspect. If you do get into where there are senior counsels, there's something known as senior counsels in law, which basically are these really distinguished people who represent clients in courts. You can work with them, you know, if that is what you want to do. If you want to get into litigation, you can work with them. So it's not just a law firm. I know I spoke about law firms for 50 minutes, but it's not just law firm oriented. You know, there are multiple avenues once you even become a lawyer. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Sanjana. I think there are a lot of lessons and information which was given today, which is going to be really helpful for girls. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your time. It means a lot. And thank you so much for being so patient and answering all the questions.
Thank
Um,
you for having me.
yeah,
And I would just say, if any of you do want to reach out to me, I think Kavita and Anisha have my number. You can reach out to them. I'm available at any time. Even 5 years later, if you want to call me once you graduated 12th grade, please feel free to call me. That's completely okay.
sure, definitely.